motivation and preparation led to a new sensation, new creation. That's what you're facing. Now watch my elevation.
You are now tuned into the Boxing Bros. I am Caden, and I'm here with my co-hosts. I'll let them introduce themselves.
What's going on, everybody? It's the commissioner, Trill Bill.
And this is Parachute G, a.k.a. G Nostradamus. But hold on, before I pass it to my man Ned, I'd just like to give a special sock pot sizzle to all the Haitian mothers out there and any woman that had a Haitian baby. Happy Mommy's Day. You know what I mean?
Happy Haitian Mother's Day.
And it's the TBE. You know what it is, man. Never fold in. Happy Mother's Day to all my
Almost
you folded last Sunday because you didn't show up. But anyways, go ahead. We have our special guest in the building. He is back.
The cousin had to come through. It's a holiday weekend. I said, let me come see what my brothers is up to. What's good, bros? How you guys doing?
Salute to Complex in the building. The first topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros is the big fight. First, we want to know your reaction to the fight. And then two, we want to know, was Rolly Romero food? Everyone was saying he was food. He was going to be light work for Tank. Tank knocked him out in the 6th round. But we want to know your reaction to the fight, and was Rolly Romero food? We're going to turn this over to Trill Bill.
My reaction to the fight was, I liked the fight. I liked the fight, honestly. Let me start with Tank. You know what I'm saying? Tank, wow, explosive. Tank was a tank, you know. It was good seeing Tank in there. It's a lot of maturity in Tank that I've seen, especially after the fight. I want to applaud Tank.
Facts.
For how he acted after the fight. I was shocked and I was impressed with the growth and the maturity of Gervonta Tank Davis. It made me smile and I was proud. You know, I was definitely proud. That's was beautiful to see. You know, definitely took the high road. This was a more disciplined Tank, you know, and it was really thinking in there. Now, very impressive from Tank. Very impressed by Tank. Now, shout out to Rolly. Rolly Romero. I thought that he fought a disciplined fight for a guy with no experience, they say. With only 14 fights, I thought he fought a real disciplined fight until that shot that he caught, and that's when the inexperience kicked in. But I was impressed by Rolly. Do I think Rolly was food? No, because I don't think that Tank thought he was food. And you could tell by the way that he fought that fight. He knew that that boy was strong. And he knew that he had something with him. I knew that before the fight even started. And then he made it known after the fight by his words that Rolly is a dangerous fighter. People when somebody is different, right? People like to jump on the bandwagon, and you know how, like, when somebody bullies somebody, if you ain't secure in yourself, you like to jump on the bandwagon, and you like to bully the person too, right? So that's what everybody was doing, you know? Not Tank. Tank prepared the hardest he ever prepared for a fight for somebody that was supposed to be food and a bum. Tank went in there and was smart with this guy for the first couple of rounds because he didn't want to go in there like he was saying after the fight. He knew that Rolly was strong and with the skills that Rolly had possessed. And he also said that he was glad that this fight didn't take place when it was supposed to. Because he knew it would have been probably a different chance because his emotions and everything was caught up in it. Because Rolly had got to him. Was Rolly fooled? No, Rolly impressed me. What I wasn't impressed by, though, was the ref. I felt like the ref was caught up in the outside stuff. Like he already had a thing against Rolly. It seemed like everything Rolly did, he was talking about taking a point from Rolly. So when he walked in the ring, hey, stop bouncing up and down like that. I'm gonna take a point. You know what I'm saying? Everything Rolly
showed up acting like he the ultimate warrior. That's why he's like, yo, calm yourself down, bro.
He's like, calm yourself down before I take a point. You know what I'm saying? Everything he was on Rolly, so it was just hard. Like, and people are not gonna give him his credit because they already jumped on the bully bandwagon. You know what I'm saying? When everybody it's always easier to not like somebody when everybody else doesn't like them. You know what I'm saying? But what Rolly did was incredible that most fighters never get to do with 14 fights. Was fight on a big stage on pay-per-view, and he showed that he does have a little skill, but he just needs a little bit more experience. But he impressed me. He didn't get steamrolled. He didn't get knocked out in the first 60 seconds, what everybody was saying. He wasn't going to get knocked out in the second round. He really had Tank in there, and Tank even had to yell to his people, calm down, man. I need a couple rounds. You know what I'm saying? This dude ain't like, you know what I'm saying? Like what y'all think. But look, shout out to Tank. Don't want to take nothing from him. I would love to see Tank what he say. He wants a big fight now. He wants a big, huge marquee fight now. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, you know, that scratching of the head when they was naming them names. Hopefully he gets in the ring with those guys. But But my reaction to that fight was, wow, go ahead, Tank. And I love the maturity from Tank.
All right. And now we're gonna go right into.
I'm sorry, I feel like I was talking for mad long. My apologies.
It is what it is, man. We ain't got no clock. We ain't got no clock. All right, turn it over to Conspiracy G.
All right, so I got so much I gotta say here. First, I'm gonna say this: salute to Tank and Rolly for making records in the Barclays Center. That place was packed. They had a lot of fighters there, a lot of entertainers and everything. So salute to those two gentlemen for packing the house. Now, Tank, I thought Tank did an excellent job. To keep him 100, the way I envisioned Tank performing is exactly what he did. Rolly, however, he did good, but I feel like Rolly could have did a lot more. For example, I knew Rolly was going to do the roughhouse tactics, the elbows and everything. I honestly thought he was going to do more of it. And the reason why I thought he should have done more of it is because, hey, man, you was most likely going to lose a point anyways, right? We've seen him in previous fights where he lost points. He don't care. Hey, as long as you can frustrate Tank enough to make Tank fight outside of his game, you have the advantage. But he never got Tank frustrated. And that was, to me, the only chance that Rolly had of beating Tank was getting Tank frustrated, where Tank will go outside of his game plan and just try to slug it out with Rolly. But Tank never fell for the bait. So now Rolly's in a predicament where Rolly's like, you know what? I'm just going to bring the action to Tank, right? But I'm like, yo, Rolly, you got to know that he's baiting you. I don't think Rolly's seen it, you know? So then out of nowhere, when Rolly tried to go for that kill and my man Tank hit him with that flash hook, it was night-night. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, he just couldn't recover. You know what I mean? And shout out to Rolly. He looked like, I don't know if y'all ever drove stick shift, but you know what I mean? He had he was pumping the clutch. You know what I'm saying? He was trying to get his leg to work. I was like, man. But nonetheless, I'm not going to say he was fooled. And I know everybody's looking for Chef Boyardee to bring a dish, but I have to be honest. Like my scorecard, and I know my scorecard's all over the place. Honestly, low-key, I kind of want to bring it up because I feel like it's going to cause a debate within itself.
Oh,
but,
God.
Yo, round 1, I gave it to Tank, right? Round 2, I gave it to Rolly. Round 3, I gave it to Tank. Round 4, I gave it to Rolly. Round 5, I gave it to Tank. And then, obviously, we know what happened in the 6th round. But it was, like, really hard for me because I was like, yo, like, both men didn't really do much when it came to
G was alternating closer.
it was close.
What the hell?
You know what I mean?
What the hell? What
Nah,
the hell?
yo, listen. It was tough for me. You know what I'm saying? So I was trying to be fair down the line. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, who did the most damage? Sometimes I'm like, they kind of did even them out. So I'm like, all right, then who did the most work? So that's how I was coming up with different criteria per round. You know what I'm saying?
Well, G,
like,
I hope you wasn't giving Tank a champion's advantage because he ain't a real champion.
No. See, I almost did that. Round one. I still gave him round one, low key, only because he got the secondary belt. But then after round one, I was like, nah,
he's the man to the man.
Yeah. So then I was like, yo, Tank, you're not doing enough, fam. So I was like, I had to be fair to Rolly. So to say Rolly was fooled, nah, he wasn't fooled. However, I anticipated that Tank would get him out by the 6th. You know what I mean? Like, Tank did the right thing. Don't try to go for the kill right away. You know Rolly's a bigger 135er than you. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't be too reckless with a guy that punches that hard. See his movement, see his timing, and then get him later on. And then Tank realized it too. Like, I think, was it the 5th? I think it was the 5th when Tank was like, all right, this is the round. But he ended up knocking him out in the 6th. You know what I'm saying? But Tank believed he was going to get him in the 5th. But so he understood his game plan. He understood the mission, and he executed, man. So salute to Tank. And Rolly, I don't think you should hold your head down. And, hey, man, you did lose, so you kind of made yourself an embarrassment for a little bit. But it wasn't like your performance was that poor. Like, me personally, I don't like how Rolly fights. But last night, he actually did pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Like, Rolly's footwork usually is horrendous. His footwork was actually decent in this fight. So he wasn't that bad, man. So I don't want to like just crap on the dude for that performance. It was still a competitive fight. He just got caught, and Tank punches like a tank. So it happens, man. The average 135 ain't gonna eat a Tank shot. So salute to both gentlemen.
All right, we're going to bring in the boxing cousin Complex. What was your reaction to the fight, and was Rolly food?
What's good, fellas? So, my reaction to the fight, first off, I think it was a good fight. Impressive work from Tank, but I expected this from the beginning. Rolly, there's levels to this game, right? And I believe Tank could be one of the top 135ers in the world, and 135 is a packed division. I think he's right up there at the top. Rolly is not. This fight from the beginning was never going to be competitive. I never expected this fight to be anything interesting. I think, honestly, I was surprised it was a pay-per-view. It's cool. Like, no, I'm being dead serious. I mean, look, this is Mayweather's plan, right? I'm going to create a pay-per-view star by feeding Tank certain opposition that's going to make him look good. Rolly came in and did his job and made Tank look good. This was not a fight. This is not on the par of even like what other fights we've seen at 135, right? Which are much more, I think, competitive and with highly ranked opponents. Rolly is not. He had 14 fights going into this fight. Didn't have a long background of boxing. Tank was going to knock this guy out. I saw that coming from the jump. It's still cool. I'm not mad at it. This is sports entertainment, and Rolly did his job. And this is not to bully Rolly either. Rolly came in and did his job. He was fun and entertaining. He made you believe that he had a chance. He made outlandish predictions. He did all that stuff. That's cool. You know what I mean? All the funny, goofy stuff. Great job. And for him to be in that position is excellent, right? You made it. You're on the pay-per-view. That's cool. But come on, this was not a competitive fight. In my eyes, I didn't expect it to be, and I knew that Tank was going to win. I want to see more from Tank after this. And with regards to food, was he food? Absolutely. I don't know where Rolly's from, but whatever they eat there, that's what Tank had that night. Like fruit roll-ups, whatever. Fruit roll-ups. Absolutely food.
Fruit roll-ups.
100% food. 1,000%. Let me tell you something. There's different ways to eat a meal, right? Let's say you got a burrito. Some people they take a burrito.
You know what I'm saying?
Some people take a burrito. They might, eat it like that. Pause. My hands was a little weird right there.
We cut our burritos in half. We eat our burritos.
Some people, they use a knife and fork. You know what I mean? Some people eat a bowl. It doesn't. At the end of the day, you still eating. Tank was just because Tank didn't walk him down and finish him. The end result was still the same. Tank knew that, okay, yeah, Rolly's a slightly bigger 135 pounder, and he's got some pack behind his punch. So he's not going to go in there like willy-nilly. But at the end of the day, Tank was still going to knock this boy out. And it was in the 6th round, which mad people predicted. You didn't even make it past. I don't think Rolly really concerned Tank at all, except for the roughhousing, the kind of like, bullying a bit. But I don't think he was actually that concerned. In my eyes, I knew that Tank was going to knock him out. He was just waiting for the right moment. It's like, look, when you know what they say is fool's gold. When you're watching it, like, this looks real, right? I think this is real. It looked like Rolly was like, yo, he's walking him down. He's, dictating the fight. But I could see that Tank was baiting him in. Tank was letting him feel comfortable so that he can finish him, which is exactly what he did. Rolly got hit with the one-hitter quitter. He fell into the ropes. He got up. He couldn't really move around. And, I mean, that's fine. So the fight was what it's supposed to be. But I don't want people to get confused and let them off the hook here, because this is what boxing does. They're selling us this. We're paying a pay-per-view. They're making Tank a big star. But like Caden said, Tank's not a world champion. He does not have a real world championship belt yet, but he's had 4 pay-per-views, right? They're creating, it's like a manufacturing of a pay-per-view star. Just by putting him on pay-per-view, it's like, well, you're used to it. Now your brain is conditioned that this is a pay-per-view level fight. But in reality, this is not high-level fight. There's much more high-level fights at this weight class that we've seen. Tank is a star because they say he's a star, right? Tank hasn't beaten anybody yet. I think Tank is, like I said, is one of the top. But in none of these fights has he beaten one of the top-ranked fighters. He hasn't even fought for a real belt. It's all the secondary belts. So, with that said,
secondary champ.
Right? Yeah. I don't know what does that even mean.
Just pulling the, that picture.
I don't know if I'm going to give the complex that. Complex is 50-50 right now.
So he did his job. That was the entertainment part. But now I want to see the sport part. Give me a competition, a real competition. Like I said, I knew that Tank was going to knock him out. It was just a matter of time. I was watching. I was like, he's baiting him. This is bait. Wait for him to. He's going to counter him. And then it happened. So it was cool.
Question though. So
Shoot.
What about Teofimo and Ryan Garcia, who believed in their heart of hearts that Rolly was going to win? These guys spar with each other. They honestly believe that Rolly was going to take out Tank. Like, don't they count for something?
Doug, this is all gamesmanship. They did not believe that. They did not believe that.
Ryan
they did not believe
bet
that.
20 G's on it.
That's cool. Whatever. That's silly. They did not really believe that. Teofimo is a hater, first off. Teofimo is the biggest hater at 135. So he's going to pick whatever that whoever he's beefing with, he's going to pick against them. And then Ryan Garcia, same thing. I don't think they really believe that. No disrespect, and I want to be clear. This is no disrespect to Rolly, and I'm not trying to like bully him or whatever. I think he's a good competitor, and what he did, he brought to the table. He made it interesting, because even I was having fun all out of the build-up. I was like, this guy's a fun fighter, and you need that to build up the fight. But in reality, he never stood a chance. And Mayweather Promotions knows what they're doing. These guys have sold the most pay-per-views in the entire business. They know what they're doing. They're smart, but at the same time, I need to see more from the competitor. So like I said, Tank was excellent. He did what I expect him to do. But yeah, let me see you against a top one. Fight for a real belt. And now I know promotional stuff, the belts are all in Australia right now, and Devin's got to fight. It's a whole lot. But if you can make that Ryan fight, make it. Let's do it. Let's see. Like, these guys are supposed to be the best. Let's see it. Show us. We need to see some real fights right now. Not these like showcase fights that keep making you look like you're the best, but you haven't been against another guy who's got a name, right?
He said Ryan ain't gonna fight for a real belt until he's like 40-0.
You mean Tank? Or are you saying Ryan Garcia?
I said Ryan too. They ain't gonna fight for no real belt until
they can unify. Isn't Ryan the secondary WBC belt and the secondary WBA belt? Right. So the unified would be the unified secondary WBC regular WBA.
That's what they can do. They can become undisputed secondary, and then once they do that, they can finally fight the winner of Devin Haney.
They gonna wait till Devin go to 140.
All right, fellas, that's it for me. But yeah.
All right, the TBE. What was your reaction to the fight, and was Rolly Romero food?
When this fight kicked off, during the ring walk, during Rolly's ring walk, where he came out the Prince, which was dope, and come down to the ring. As soon as he got into the ring and he looked around, you could see like this was his first biggest fight. It showed it was his biggest fight. He was shocked like his eyes lighting up. He couldn't stop looking at the crowd, how many people were in the building, and he was like a little anxious. And that's not to knock Rolly for his performance. I want to also shout out Rolly for selling the fight, because he did what he had to do. He was the cattle on display for last night's event, and he was okay with being let to slaughter. So my reactions, Rolly came in. I'm not gonna say I was impressed, but he used tactics that I didn't expect him to use, where he's gonna start trying to trying to rough up Tank, throwing elbows and all of that nonsense. But I thought he was gonna try to be a clean fight, try to really show that he's made for this. He's one of the big boys. He's gonna make some noise in this division. But as the fight led on, Tank starting to figure him out, and Rolly got cocky, went in there and Tank countered him and put his lights out. So shout out to Tank on being professional and not dissing his old promotion crew, dissing Rolly, and keeping it clean. And Rolly, it's your first loss, your first big loss. Hope you bounce back from it.
I saw this differently than most people up here, but some similarities. I'll start by saying this. I had the fight scored 3-2 at the time of the stoppage for Rolly. I thought Rolly was landing the better punches. He was controlling the distance. And the commentary rarely spoke about when Rolly landed a punch. They were always talking about Tank. And Complex pointed out a great point. Most people are saying they predicted this fight to end in 6 rounds by knockout by Gervonta Davis, which means it wasn't really that difficult to predict if everyone was predicting it. It's easy to get those fights right. And why was everyone predicting this? Because you saw Rolly Romero in his other fights. You saw him looking sloppy. You saw him swinging for the fences. You saw him looking like trash. Gervonta Davis said he's not a good fighter. He's just a dumb A fighter before the fight. So then we watched the fight. And I have to disagree that Gervonta Davis was baiting him. See, baiting someone means you set up something. It means when you set up a punch, there's things you do. Like Tyson Fury set up Dillian White, right? Tyson Fury set up Deontay Wilder. What Gervonta Davis did was capitalize off a mistake that was made by Rolly Romero, which is something completely different. You set up things when you kind of like you're playing chess. You set this trap, the person moves their piece there. So then that's when you're able to do what you did because you were calculating that move. That's not what Gervonta Davis did. It was instinctual. Rolly leaped in with his face and then he hit him. That's what happened. So stop making it seem like Gervonta was some master boxer who knew all night what was going to happen. No, he was in trouble. And his people knew he was in trouble. And here's why. Gervonta Davis is short. And Rolly was doing a good job keeping the distance. Tank was trying to come in. Maybe you forgot that, Complex, but he was trying to come in. Romero would take 2 steps back and counter. He did try to come in. The difference was Romero wasn't as bad. His footwork wasn't as bad as it normally was. He was improved. Tank did rush him. And when he rushed him, Romero backed up, regained control. Romero was using his jab to control the range and push him against the ropes and land the better punches. And if Rolly was more experienced and had more than 14 fights, he would have won the fight just like that. He never had to rush in. He never had to do any of that because he was out boxing Tank, the guy who's been boxing since he's 7 years old. One of the highlights in the promotion was Tank said, I've been doing this since I was 7 years old. Not at 17, which is a good line because he's been doing it since he was 7 and Rolly started doing this at 17. The difference is IQ. If Rolly was smart and he was experienced, he would have said, what I'm doing is working. I don't need to jump in on him. Mm-hmm. I am outboxing him right now, so I'm going to keep outboxing him, and I'm actually going to beat him on points. But Rolly's belief is your belief, and everyone else's belief is that he can't get a decision against Tank. He can't win on the points. But for anyone saying that Rolly Romero was fooled, the scorecards, the official scorecards on a Mayweather event, which everything was set to be in Gervonta Tank Davis' favor, the commentary, the referee, the fact that the promotional company gave him all the fights he need to, and they still protect him, and nobody protect Rolly Romero, everything in his favor, and the scorecards had one judge had Rolly winning, and the other two scorecards had Tank winning. One scorecard had Tank winning by 1 point. You say you want to say something, Ned?
Yeah, I want to also say, Tank, yo, you're a little reckless. Like last night in the ring, I think it was the third or fourth round, and he looked in the crowd while the match is going on. He's telling somebody, "Shut the F up, shut the F up." Stop doing that, bro. Like I don't like if Rolly's IQ was there, he would have just lunged on you.
He
Like
ain't gonna do that with no Haney, bro. I know that for a fact. He would not do that with
He
Haney.
ain't gonna step in the ring with Haney. He ain't never gonna step in the ring with Haney. That's a whole different discussion. I'll save it for the next segment. He ain't never gonna step in the ring with Haney. Here's the point that I'm trying to make, real quick. What I saw was this. I saw Rolly Romero, a guy who started boxing when he was 17, came from jiu-jitsu background, started boxing when he was 17, improved drastically from his last fight. That's what I saw last night. Now imagine giving him 3 or 4 more fights to get even better before you threw him in there with Gervonta Davis, and then you tell me what that fight would look like. Because he improved a lot. I remember I was watching, people's like, oh, is Rolly crazy? Rolly's crazy like a fox. Rolly don't got no chance. The conventional wisdom was Rolly was going to get steamrolled. That's what everyone was saying. That was not a steamroll. And that wasn't Gervonta Davis setting it up and letting him get comfortable. Nah, Gervonta Davis couldn't do ish with him because he's too short. When he tried to come in, Rolly stepped back, took away the distance, countered him. Rolly stayed with the jab, put him against the ropes. He capitalized off Rolly's mistake, which is what you're supposed to do.
Same thing happened to Manny Pacquiao. And we're not going to call Manny Pacquiao fool.
Yep. Juan Memo Marquez jumped in.
He wasn't setting up. He wasn't setting him up. He was getting busted up. And he took the opportunity when Manny Pacquiao jumped in and got busted.
Let me say this real quick, bro. If you want to call
the Marquez, remember, Marquez threw that shot like 5 times in that fight. And then the last time he landed. So that was a setup punch. You know what I mean? But I hear you though.
But how's it set up if he did it 5 times before?
No, that's what I'm trying to say.
Like
you don't do it 5 times before if you're setting something up, G. He was trying to counter. That's called a counter. There's a difference between a setup and a counter. You understand what I'm saying? Like a setup means I'm putting you in position to hit you with this shot. A counter means when I see an opening, I take it. Yeah, Gervonta knocked him out with a counter. If you look at our text in our group chat, what did I say when I said Rolly's doing good? He just has to avoid the big counter. That's what I said. Everything he was doing what he had to do. I'm gonna put it to you like this in the simplest form. Gervonta Davis has 27 fights now. Still hasn't fought a real fighter because he's being protected. They would never throw Gervonta Tank Davis in his 14th fight in the ring with a guy who has pay-per-view experience. He has none. A guy who's more experienced than him in boxing, and he's just learning. They would never do that to Gervonta Davis.
When you look at with Pedraza. Pedraza was more experienced than Tank. You know what I'm saying?
Tank's been fighting since he's 7 years old. And Pedraza.
You already know about Pedraza. Let's not talk about Pedraza, okay?
I'm just saying, Pedraza was a real fighter, though. You got to
get a real fighter like Felix Verdejo, right? Like, come on, man. Like, yo, dude, these dudes, the book's out on these guys, and it's okay. They did it with Pedraza. How long ago was Pedraza? Since Pedraza, this is what I hate. When people got to go back years to tell me a fighter's biggest fight. You shouldn't have to go back years to tell me a fighter's biggest fight.
Facts.
So for the record, I'm not defending the foolishness.
That's not that. My point is this, G. My point is this, G. Rolly Romero is a beginner. Plain and simple. He makes beginner's mistakes, but he has potential and he has talent. And you saw it last night. If Rolly would have had, Deontay Wilder and Rolly is similar to me in this aspect. They both have really good power. Their power is what gives them a chance against anybody. guys who were more skilled than them. And you saw Gervonta Davis had to respect Rolly's power. Here's the difference between Deontay Wilder and Rolly Romero. Deontay Wilder wasn't forced to take a big fight until he had like 32, 33 in, because he was learning on the job. So they were saying, we're not going to, they said he has potential, but if we feed him to the big guys too soon, he'll never realize that potential because he doesn't have the experience that they have. So just on boxing IQ alone, they can beat him. Where I will admit that that Complex is right, that everyone else is right, is that he beat Rolly Romero on boxing IQ. He knew more about boxing than Rolly. So he capitalized on Rolly's mistakes, right? But what the difference is, if Rolly would have had 20, 25 fights, he wouldn't have made that mistake.
But Caden, I think that's kind of the point. And you make a lot of good points. Yes, Rolly has potential. Yes, if Rolly had more experience, he might have done better. But that's why he was in there, because he was not supposed to do better. He was supposed to come in and get knocked out.
I agree on that.
So we agree. So okay, we agree on that point. In terms of the setup, this is what I would say, right? Oftentimes with a shorter fighter, when you're fighting a taller guy, you can't just come in on him because he's got the height on you. He's got the reach on you. So you back up, and it's called follow the leader. You're making him come to you, right? Tank knew that Rolly's going to come in, and Rolly, as disciplined as he was, because he was doing well, Rolly was trying to be measured with his jab. He was throwing good shots, but he knew he was going to open up at some point. When he came, you see Tank back up into the ropes. Rolly thinks I got him. He's against the ropes.
Thank you. Because of the ropes.
He leaps in.
He got him because of the ropes.
He leaps in face first, and Tank is like, "Thank you, bing." Knocked out. So to me, when you set up a counter, if I know this guy's about to throw this right hand or he's about to come in with his face first and I hit him, that's setting up the punch in my eyes. But we could agree to disagree. At the end of the day, I think Rolly was brought in as a sacrificial lamb. That's why he was food in my eyes.
Tank said he was just throwing the punch. He ain't even have it with nothing on it.
Yeah.
It wasn't that's a setup. Like if you set
but that's the perfect punch.
You're setting something up, you're gonna set it up.
I'm gonna give you an example of a setup. Canelo set up Amir Khan. He threw the jab to the body. Amir Khan's hands went down. Then he came over the top with the overhand right. That's a setup. When you capitalize off someone's mistake, that is just a counter. So what you're saying is true. He did go against the ropes, hoping that Rolly would open up and make a mistake so he can counter. But that's you hoping to capitalize off someone else's mistake. Rolly had to make the mistake. See, a setup is something that happens because you did it, because you made it happen. What he did to Rolly was Rolly's mistake. If Rolly doesn't jump in, we're talking about round 7. Remember, there was like 20 seconds left at the end of that round when Rolly stood up. That's what we're getting different. I think we agree that Tank's IQ was better. Tank is more skilled. Tank, he had all the advantages in that fight. We agree. We agree that Rolly Romero isn't the biggest threat in the world. We agree. We agree on all those things, Complex. So what I'm saying is where I'm different from you is I don't think Rolly is food, because we're talking about a guy in his 15th fight, fighting on pay-per-view, who started boxing at 17, taking a big risk that Gervonta Davis hasn't even taken. Gervonta Davis in his 27th fight hasn't taken the risk that Rolly Romero took last night. And shout out to Rolly Romero for having the balls to do it, because these punk fighters today won't even step in the ring. And not only did Rolly have the balls to do it, he talked like he believed in himself, and everyone thought he was crazy. But guess what? You watched him last night. He showed up in that arena, and he really tried to win. And he really fought well. And it really was the best Rolly Romero we ever seen. Now, Gervonta, on the other hand, at the end of his post-fight press conference, when they said, do you still think he's just a bad A fighter? Here's what he said. He was walking out. And I think we can show it in the clip. He said, nah, he does some things in there. That's all you can ask for. You said he was a bad A fighter, and now you admit he does some things in there. And here's my point, and I'll close with this. When you're invested in a fighter, you don't feed them to the wolves like they did. And what I mean by that is Deontay Wilder had potential, like Rolly has potential. But they didn't make him in his 15th fight, one of the top contenders. They waited and they let Mark Brillin school him. And they waited until his windmill right hand, which had potential, turned into a devastated, accurate, straight right hand where he can place it onto the target. And that's when he started knocking dudes the hell out. And Rolly got that same potential. But you got to let him learn how to box. And they didn't do that because they wanted to make Tank look good. So we agree on that complex. But what I'm saying is that doesn't make Rolly fool. That makes him inexperienced. What you saw was experience versus inexperience. And I would love to see Rolly get 5 or 6 more fights and Tank fight him again. And I bet you we'll be talking about a different fight. Maybe Tank will still knock him out, but I guarantee you Rolly ain't going to jump in with his face.
Hey, listen, if Rolly's food, then he's a food allergy. You know, he
a hard
allergic.
deal.
No, wait,
if he's food, Tank's allergic because he done left some bumps on Tank's forehead.
I ain't never seen Tank look that beat up at a press conference.
He had some bumps on his forehead, so he must have been allergic to that type of food. You know?
Not all food is good food.
What round did Tank knock out Leo Santa Cruz? Wasn't it like the 6th?
What round?
Right?
Yeah.
He knocked out Leo Santa Cruz in like the 6th.
Little Leo, we gonna bring up Little Leo.
But what I'm saying is, you can't say Leo's not a good fighter. And then he knocked out Barrios in the 11th.
Up in weight. Leo's small weight.
And he knocked out Barrios in the 11th.
Weight drained Barrios.
Weight drained, yeah, Barrios.
He was in a tub for 7 days.
But the thing is, with Rolly, at least you could give Tank this one credit. Rolly is an actual 135er. You know what I'm saying? He's not a champion level 135, but he's a real 135er. So, you know, Tank is low key moving up in competition. I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah. G, find a way to try to give him some props. Here's what I would give Tank props. He was being too, he was taking it personally, and he was being too animated, and he was being too frustrated. He realized his mistake, and he stayed calm, and he said, I'm the more skilled fighter. I'm going to use my skill. And that was the smart decision for him, because if he would have went out and he would have tried to fight Rolly, he would have got knocked out. He admitted himself. Rolly hit him with the first punch, and he said, oh, this guy can hit. I need to be smart about it. He said it himself. So I'll give him that. But come on, man. It's a dude who started boxing at 17.
Hey, that's what G said. G said it. It's a real 135-pounder with no experience.
He left that out, though. G left that part out. No, you said the no experience. G left that part out.
I know what he was meaning. Let us know how you feel in the comment section. Please like and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. We're just getting started. We got Complex with us. We are the Boxing Bros.